We are back once again today, helping you get ready for your fantasy football drafts. We are talking best ADP values from round 6 to 10, the middle rounds where drafts are won. Next. Welcome in once again to the Double FU, the FU times 2. I am this guy. I am with this guy. Today we are talking about best ADP values round 6 through 10. Aaron, how you doing?
Kind of close there. As you hit go live, I realized I was on Wi-Fi and had to run over and plug my Ethernet cord in here. And I'm sitting here. I'm coming out of the theme song and I'm going, please don't be frozen when he throws it to me. Nope, we got it in. We're good to go. How's it going?
Nice. Good stuff, man. Yeah, all good. Just listen, I'm deep in the graphics, garbage pile, trying to learn Canva and CapCut and all this stuff on the fly. But it's August, it's go time, so I'm in it to win it, man.
Let me tell you two things. Okay, first, Canva. When I first did it, my graphics were terrible, and it seemed like I was going to give up. Watch anytime you want to do things. I must have watched 50 different how to do this on Canva, how to do that. If you find something you like, YouTube how to do it, and you can. It's really easy to learn. CapCut, or I was using CapWing at one point. I found that almost impossible to use. Do you have children? Have your children teach you. My 10-year-old taught me everything I needed to know about how to use CapCut because I had no clue. I remember we were doing one of our videos and I couldn't figure out how to do it. And I showed my kid and he was like, you tap this, this, and this, Dad. And I'm going, how did you do that? So just you find one of your kids, they'll teach you.
Listen, I hear that. That's how you know you're officially old, is when you're asking your kids to teach you technology. If I had kids 10 years ago, I would have been asking them to do it. So I feel that. But yeah, let's get into it here. The best ADP values for the middle rounds. Once again, we are using PPR ADP from Fantasy Pros. This is a combination of 5 sources. It's Sleeper, it's CBS, it's ESPN, NFL.com, and RT Sports, which I think is 5 of 5 there on that list. But basically, it's a compilation and giving you, spitting out the ADP, and we will give you our favorite choices from each round. We did rounds 1 through 5 yesterday. That is up on our YouTube channel. So if you want, go check it out. If you like any of this content, please like and subscribe. But first, let's get into round 6. And Aaron, and for the benefit of you and the viewers, we will read these guys out quickly and discuss who you like at cost. In the 6th round, it is Kyle Pitts, Tank Dell, David Montgomery, Zamir White, DeAndre Swift, Ramondre Stevenson, Evan Ingram, Dak Prescott, Keenan Allen, Christian Kirk, and Jordan Love. So it looks like just Love and Prescott as QBs, a ton of wide receivers, and some decent running backs here. Maybe we're in the dead zone. I don't know who you like. What are you thinking here in round 6, Aaron?
I don't particularly love the running backs in this zone. I don't like, there's only three receivers I don't like. If I'm going quarterback, my choice here is Dak Prescott. I like him. He's a great value. My overall number 1 pick in this round would be Kyle Pitts. I know he's the first guy in there, but this always seems to be a case for me of, what are there? 6 elite tight ends, we're going to call it. I am always the one who takes the last guy. For me, I don't think Pitts has actually fallen this far. I get far more George Kittle in this range because he always seems to be the last of the 6. But I want, McBride, Laporta, Andrews, Kelsey, Kittle, Pitts. That's the 6. Am I missing someone?
Sure.
So
Kincaid?
Nah, Kincaid's in the tier below for me. So in this case, like I said, I see if we look up, Kittle technically goes for the 5th, but if it's Pitts in this case, I'll take Pitts. If it's Kittle who falls, I'll take Kittle. It's kind of weird because Pitts by ADP is the one that it should be, but I found it's Kittle more because I find Pitts goes higher. But for me, either way, it's the last of that tier for tight end. That's where I'm going. How about you?
Yeah, those Kittle shares are about to pay off big time because certainly, the Brandon Ayuk trade seems imminent to the Steelers. More on that tonight or tomorrow when it actually happens. But a lot of secondary sources now reporting that on Twitter that it's basically a done deal. So assuming Ayuk's gone, Kittle is going to explode. But for Kyle Pitts, he's my guy too in this round. He could be the overall tight end one. We've seen his skill set. We know he's got a new offensive coordinator who's going to be pass centric. We know he's got a now very capable quarterback in Kirk Cousins, assuming health. And they are training him to move all over the field, both at the tight end position and at wide receiver positions. So it should be a little bit more interesting, get him moving around and make him a focal point of the offense. The other thing in Atlanta is Rondale Moore just about 20 minutes ago went down with a non-contact injury. It looks like he is done. We'll see what happens. But that's just another blow to someone who could have picked up 50 targets. That's another 50 targets that's just going to be distributed between the big three in Atlanta, and Kyle Pitts will get more of those. So, I love Kyle Pitts at this particular cost. If you're going to pick somebody else from this group, because we both settled on the same guy, I love Tank Dell as well. Dell is really interesting because I think Dell, Diggs, and Nico are all going to hover around the same stat line here or there, and Dell is by far the cheapest. So a few of those guys I absolutely love.
I should add in that I'm answering this question here. I don't think Andrews does get this far. I'm looking, he's way up there. He's probably almost two full rounds ahead. I did notice I missed Engram the first pass. He would be the one I have ahead of Kincaid. So if Pitts wasn't available and Kittle wasn't available, basically my point here is in the 6th round, I'm getting my tight end because before even looking at what ADP is, I think we all know who I'm going to pick in the 7th and 8th round when we keep going. So I'm getting my tight end here if I haven't already. But so it'd be Pitts or Engram for me.
Yeah, agree there. Love Engram as well. So it's a big 7 for me. It's a big 8 now, assuming Ayuk goes. Kittle absolutely jumps up into that range. Talking about the ADP, we talked about him a little bit yesterday. Mark Andrews, 47 overall, tight end 3 right now by ADP. If he falls into this range, he's an absolute smash, but I doubt it. And Zamir White, we may talk about him in a few rounds here. Moving on to the 7th round. Let me just get my math in order here. Yep. So is this right? Yeah. So we had Najee Harris there at the end of that 6th round.
Calvin. Yeah.
Yeah. So 7th round, Aaron's favorite fantasy and reality player, Calvin Ridley, Kyler Murray, Terry McLaurin, Raheem Mostert, Chris Godwin, Tony Pollard, Jaden Reed, Jonathan Brooks, David Njoku, Rashee Rice, Zach Moss, and Jaylen Warren, all in the 7th round. Aaron, who do you like here?
It's like they put every fantasy player I hate and put them all in one round. I've got, except for one. Obviously, my choice here is Godwin. If you've done any fantasy draft with me, you know that my 7, 8, the reason I go tight end in 6 is because in 7 and 8, I'm going Godwin and Deontay. So I love Godwin there. Don't mind Kyler if you haven't had a quarterback or don't have a quarterback yet. I think he's a steal. And then there are 2 running backs that I like. I think Mostert's being undervalued. I suspect that Miami backfield is closer to a 50-50 split than we want to give them credit. Zach Moss currently listed as the RB1 in Cincy. I love that. This was a tough one because I have 1, 2, 3. I really love Godwin and Moss here, and I don't really like anyone else in the round. So I think it's Godwin, and then I hope Moss gets back to me, but there's only 2 options for me here. Unless I need a quarterback, then Kyler's a good value. What do you think?
Yeah, I love all those picks. Let's talk about Chris Godwin for a second. Moving back into the slot, there's not a ton going on there. In terms of the running game, we saw that happen and play out last year. Jalen McMillan is an absolute beast by all accounts in training camp. So I think that's just going to help further open up the offense. And if Godwin is the number 1 read on a ton of these plays, he's just going to soak up the targets. The question for Godwin, absent Tom Brady, has always been touchdowns. Will he be able to get into the end zone? I think he will. But again, we're talking about PPR. So if he's getting the volume, the touchdowns are really just icing on the cake for Godwin. He has that ability. The question is, will they look for him in the red zone over guys like Evans and Otten and dump it out into the flat? They can, but it remains to be seen what happens with Canales. For for me, I prefer Raheem Mostert. I just think he's incredibly undervalued. I was on the Zach Moss train earlier this offseason. I've slightly cooled to the point where I probably won't take him at cost, but I don't mind it. Um, but Raheem Mostert for me continues to be undervalued, especially in PPR leagues. And it doesn't matter what league. I don't care. Like you said, it's probably going to be a 50-50 split there. We know that Devin Achan is a great value, could be the overall RB1 if he can absolutely just smash on the hyper efficiency he showed last season. We know Mostert is going to regress in both touchdowns and workload. That's fine. That offense is still incredibly dynamic. You cannot focus on any one person in that offense with just the amount of speed that they keep on the field at all times. And that Miami defense might be the worst in the league. So couple all those things together. The fact that Tua isn't a lights out quarterback, you need to kind of get the run game going. And Raheem Mostert did it last year with 21 touchdowns. He could regress by 11 touchdowns and still end up an RB1 with double-digit touchdowns this season, and Achane could go off. So I love Mostert here. But yeah, there's about 4 or 5 guys in this round I really like.
It's Godwin for me. Like I said, I have a sickening amount of Godwin and Deontay, and it's just every draft. Like I said, I do originally have a lot of Zach Moss, but most of those shares were in the 10 to 12th or 13th, 14th round range. He seems to go up every 2 weeks. He goes up another round. I don't know if I have him at all in what do we say? This is the seventh. Yep. I don't know if I have him at all in the 7th round. It's starting to get too rich for my blood, especially because I do believe in Chase Brown. So, like I said, for me, this one, unless I need a quarterback, which I'd probably just punt, but it's pretty easily Chris Godwin here. And I've never been the big Godwin believer, but he just seems like the easy value here.
And we will absolutely talk about Chase Brown a little bit later in the episode. Quickly to Jesse's point, Kyler Murray in round 7. Kyler can be has the potential to be a top 3 quarterback. He's going as the QB 11 right now in round 7. I think that's a steal. You referenced it earlier. Anything else to say about Kyler?
No, it's like I said, it's the last one of the quarterbacks. I'm trying to look through here just so I don't misspeak, but I think he's probably the last one of the quarterbacks where I think he has top 5 upside. Sure, I guess some of the rookies Caleb could, Jaden Daniels could, but I think he's probably the last. And I realize it's funny to say that because Brock Purdy was QB5 last year and he goes later, but I think Kyler's one of the more undervalued quarterbacks at QB10. I can't see how he finishes lower than that. And he seems like the last, like there's some quarterbacks that could finish higher than him, but none that feel as safe as him. So Kyler in that range is really good if you haven't taken a quarterback yet.
Yep, I totally agree with you. And the fact that, you mentioned Brock Purdy, he's there on his hyper efficiency and touchdown throwing prowess because of the offense he's in. Kyler Murray has been in terrible offenses and has consistently put up top tier numbers. First 3 years of his career was the QB6, QB3, and QB10. So we know he has that in his bag when he's healthy. And he was the QB10 on just 14 games and then suffered from injuries the last 2 seasons. So we know Kyler can get there pretty easily. The only barrier, I think, is health. And now he has 2 elite options in the passing game and a couple of other serviceable ones there if everyone stays healthy. So I like that as well. In the 8th round, let's run through it here. I got to do some more quick math. We start with Jake Ferguson, Austin Eckler, Nick Chubb, Hollywood Brown, Deontay Johnson, Jordan Addison, Brock Purdy, Xavier Worthy, DeAndre Hopkins, Brian Robinson, Javonte Williams, and Devin Singletary. Aaron, who do you like in round 8?
The only option here, I guess if you need a quarterback, Purdy's pretty safe too, but the only option here is Deontay. Ferguson, I'm not as high on. I think he's the kind of upside tight end you take a shot on. I don't want to do that here. Eckler and Robinson, no real interest how that's going to shake out. Nick Chubb, I've been taking more Jerome Ford because I don't think Chubb can possibly pay off at this cost. Hollywood Brown, we've got 900 KC receivers. We don't know what's happening with any of them. Jordan Addison, I'm pretty confident will be suspended this year, unlike Rashee Rice, who I think is going to drag it out. They seem to be expediting the Addison case. Xavier Worthy, once again, talented rookie, too many mouths to feed. We have an ambiguous wide receiver room. Don't love it. DeAndre Hopkins, kind of too old here. I don't really want to invest in him.
Hurt.
Javonte Williams, like we said, seems like they've been trying to replace him all year. Devin Singletary is the unsexy pick here. I guess he's not terrible, but I've had more shots of Tyrone Tracy than I have of Devin Singletary. So for me, out of this one here, the easy pick is Deontay Johnson, unless you've missed that tight end and you really believe in Ferguson. But I don't necessarily know if that's what I want here. So, like I said, Deontay Johnson, that's the only one I really want here.
Yeah, we're all lockstep on Deontay Johnson in the 8th round. He's a smash. We were taking him in the 9th or 10th round of Superflex leagues all off season. In Dynasty redraft, didn't really matter. And now he's available easily in the 8th round. I'm happy with him in the 7th round as well. He's just going to be a complete target hog. Just a reminder to everyone who has forgotten that Adam Thielen, who was 33 years old last season, between weeks 1 and 11 was the wide receiver 10 in points per game. So Adam Thielen was an absolute monster for 2/3 of the season last year with struggling Bryce Young in an inept offense with no other weapons there. Now Deontay steps in. He's the clear one. And look, if these guys like Mingo or Marshall or whoever else is looking decent, Leggett in camp, if they can kind of take a step forward and just be adequate, that will just give Deontay more one-on-one coverage, and we know that he beats that. So I love Deontay there. If you want another pick, I think you were right on with Purdy. Purdy's a really interesting one, or you can take the upside shot with Hollywood or Xavier Worthy. For me, it's pick your poison. I think Hollywood is just the vet, so I give him the nod, and he's getting some excellent reviews early in camp, and he has established a rapport with Mahomes already. Mahomes is set to go off. So if you take one of these guys this late and they end up being the guy, especially if someone else goes down, I think that's a steal. But yeah, Deontay, and then a couple other guys for me there as well.
Deontay, I just don't understand. Like, I get it. It's not as good. It's like Zach Moss. I was getting him in the 10th and 11th round. Now I'm getting him in the 8th. But I don't know how many times I seem to have a lot of teams where I'm drafting the 1, 2, or 3 spot. And I'll get into the 7th and 8th round and go, oh, okay, I've got my QB. I've got my tight end. I've got a top 6 QB. I've got a top 6 tight end. I've got 3 or 4 stud running backs here. But I'm like, I've got one good wide receiver. What the hell am I going to do? And then I look and it's like, oh, I'll just double tap Godwin and Deontay and I'm fine. I get that they've gone up a few rounds in value. When I look at the players available in this round, like these rounds, I'm just going, how are they even available here? And I've said it in drafts with people and they said, oh, I wasn't even considering Deontay there. And I said, well, I don't know why the hell you weren't, because I've been sitting here waiting to smash Godwin and Deontay. So I don't know. That's why, like I said, as we've moved on here, I've started to adapt my draft strategy and go almost hero wide receiver, knowing that once I get a top 6 or 10 wide receiver, I can just wait till the 7th and 8th round and fill it out with the 2 receivers I'm going to take anyways. So,
yep, 100%. I'm going to give Sleeper their flowers slightly. They're still not there because he's still wide receiver 40 in projections for them. But in PPR leagues, he was 65 receptions, 690 yards was his projection. Now Sleeper is up to 78 receptions, 817 yards. It's still too low. He's going to have closer to 90 receptions. He's going to approach 1,000, if not have more than 1,000 yards receiving. And they only have him at 4 touchdowns. If Deontay gets to 6 or 7, which is certainly possible, it's not necessarily that he 4 is outlandish. I think that's probably right around what he usually does. But if he gets more volume, he's got the opportunity for 6, 7 touchdowns. And if he does that, he's absolutely a wide receiver too. He's a steal here for us in the 8th round by far. So go out and get him. All right. Moving on to round 9, we have Ladd McConkey, Brock Bowers, Christian Watson, Tajay Spears, Keon Coleman, Rome Odunze, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Justin Tucker comes in as kicker 1, Zeke Elliott, Jaden Daniels, let's see where to cut off, Gus Edwards, and Dallas Goedert. So of those names, who do you like in round 9?
Well, it's not Dallas Goedert, but this is the tough one for me because, I typically take Tucker or Aubrey, but I'm not doing it. We're in round 9. I'm typically the first guy to do it in around 11 or so. For me, it's really weird. I'm not really in on Bowers. I think the offense is going to suck. 2 tight ends there. Don't believe in Watson. Tajay Spears isn't a bad target here. If you believe in him, I like him. I feel like he always goes earlier than this. If you need a quarterback, Jaden Daniels is a decent upside shot, but I'd be pairing him with a Kirk Cousins or a consistent veteran later.
Absolutely.
For me, it's basically the three upside shots I want to take at receiver. I don't have a specific one, so this is kind of a diversify my portfolio round. I
Mhm.
like Lad McConkey. Shouldn't say I like Lad McConkey. I like Lad McConkey's situation. I don't
Sure.
think there's a definitive player, and even that's one where I have some McConkey, I have Palmer, I have Quentin Johnston. I have a lot of Coleman. Coleman seems to be my number one target in this round. I can't see Samuel or Shakir beating him out. I think the talent is there, and I think he has real upside. And probably second ahead of McConkey for me would be JSN. I
Love
think
it.
he supplants Tyler Lockett as the 2. He still won't beat DK, but Higgins is still good behind Chase. So I think JSN's a solid steal here. I like the talent of Roma Dunze. He's just not the guy I target because there's too many mouths to feed here. So for me, it's probably Coleman 75% of the time, mixing in JSN 25% of the time. Unless I really need, a quarterback, especially, if it's 4 point per passing, then I'll go Jaden Daniels. But
Yeah.
it's like I said, it's a mixture of Coleman and JSN for me. What do you got?
Yeah, all good calls there. Love the Jaden Daniels call, especially if you're waiting on late QB. You can do that again this year because he could become the QB1 just simply for rushing back for 1,300 yards, smashing the QB rushing record, and somehow throwing 25 touchdowns. So Jaden Daniels is definitely a nice shot here. I love JSN. I agree with you. He's going to be the 2 there. DK Metcalf, even though he's the 1, has never been a high volume guy. And the fact that the Seahawks are struggling on offensive line once again, didn't really do a ton to address it in the offseason. The fact that that's going to be an issue kind of leads itself to more closer to the line of scrimmage passing game. So JSN can absolutely play that role and see the high volume in a PPR league. I think this is a smash. My guy here is Tajay Spears. Tajay Spears, the reports have come out that, months ago that Brian Callahan sees Tony Pollard, new free agent acquisition to the Titans, Pollard and Tajay Spears as kind of like a 1A situation that they're going to split. If a guy runs away with the job, Callahan's left the door open for the fact that that guy could actually take over and be the lead workhorse back. I don't think Pollard's running away with the job at 27 years old. It's going to be Tajay Spears if that's the case. He's an absolute monster. Better yards per carry than Derrick Henry in a terrible situation last year. 70 targets and 52 receptions last year, which was 9th in the NFL on limited playing time. I mean, this guy is just an absolute beast. He's bigger than you think. And he has the opportunity here. He's in the mold of Jahmyr Gibbs, Devin Achane, where he's going to not necessarily take on 280 touches. At the same time, you give him 215 touches, 220, and he can be an absolute monster. On 100 touches, was it him or was it Achane? No, that was Achane. I have to go back and check Tajay Spears' numbers, but they were pretty damn good. So for me, it's all about Taji. What do you got?
Before we go to round 10, I just want to show the audience here I practice what I preach. So what I said was in round 6, I took a tight end. Here I went Joe Mixon because if you notice, this is Paulie's playoff. I had already taken Kittle in round 5, or I would have gone Pitts. So I take Mixon. Then what do I go? Godwin, Deontay, JSN. So literally, I have done exactly what I just said I was going to do, with the exception of, like I said, Kittle, I got a little early.
Plus, that Gibbs, I mean, I know you're in a super flex here, it looks like, but that Gibbs value is really nice there at the 212.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Sorry. Anyways, I was looking through because I got a notification for that league, and I was like, oh, how about that? It's exactly what I said we were going to do. It's exactly what we preach. I'll kind of switch us back over if you want to go what is it, the next round here?
Yeah, the final round here, which is round 10. Now we have a few kickers and defenses permeating the board here. But in our final round, we'll talk about today. We got the 49ers D. We got Brandon Aubrey, kicker of the Dallas Cowboys. TJ Hawkinson, who will not be healthy for a couple months. Tua Tagovailoa, Caleb Williams, Jared Goff, Cortland Sutton in here for some reason. Jameson Williams, Harrison Butker, Trey Benson, Chase Brown, Blake decorum, and I think that rounds it out. So,
Yeah.
of those 12 names, who do you like here at cost in the 10th?
For me, right about this range, I'm typically pulling the trigger here on, like I said, I've got a lot of leagues where I'm on the turn, so I'm double tapping. I'm normally going Aubrey. I mix it back and forth between Aubrey and Tucker and the 49ers DST. Those are my two that I normally go with. If you want a position player, I also have a lot of shares of Jamison Williams. The camp pipe here in Detroit has been getting
It's
out
out
of
of
control.
control.
He's looked really good. And I also like Chase Brown. I think there's some potential there. But so for me, it's the two special teams areas here, Niners or a kicker. And then I think I would go JMO with the option of Chase Brown behind. Other than that, I don't really take anyone else in this round. Not really in on Tua. I'd rather wait. TJ Hawkinson, I like if I can get him in like the 13th round. I don't
Yeah,
really want him in the 10th round. I'm assuming he misses half the season. I could be
agree.
wrong, but that's just my assumption. Where are you going in this one?
Yeah, I love Jamison Williams. I still have a ton of Jamison Williams, even though I sold some off in dynasty leagues this offseason. My issue with JMO is there's too many mouths to feed between Amon Ra, Laporta, and Gibbs. I think JMO's the fourth. Now, could he be a highly efficient downfield threat as the fourth and be almost like a poor man's Jalen Waddle in this offense, the way they're talking about him? Absolutely. I think he has the talent to do that. I'm just not sure that with a defense that's improving, that they're going to need him to do that too often. But I do like the upside shot on JMO. Could be totally wrong. I think the talent's always been there. Do not hate that at all. For me, it's Chase Brown. I've been warming on Chase Brown lately, especially in the 10th. We've been pumping up Zach Moss all offseason. I will still take Zach Moss at cost. I'm just not nearly as excited as I was about a month or two ago because everything that we've heard from Chase Brown over the last couple of months has been glowing from the Bengals. The only issue I see to Chase Brown getting on the field is his pass protection. If he's cleaned that up, because apparently he's cleaned up his route running, apparently the Bengals are going to use him split out into the slot and even out wide as a receiver. He's practicing there a little bit more than expected. So it's very possible that they do some special things with him and put him in packages, and he becomes fits into that Devon A. Chan role where he's just used as kind of a highly efficient playmaker back, as opposed to the guy who gets who's pounding the ball inside all the time. But he's done that in his college career as well. Chase Brown was a workhorse in college, so he's certainly talented enough. He's certainly improved. Everything looks great. In the 10th round, I'll take a shot on Chase Brown winning this job over a largely mediocre Zach Moss, as he's been for most of his career, even though I still believe in him. It's a great offense. Why not both?
I know we're going by what's on the board here, but another one that I'm scrolling down here. I have some
Mm-hmm.
Jerome Ford. He falls 2 or 3
Yep.
picks out, but he is actually, with the exception of if Jerome Ford is on the board, I take Ford. If not, then I go kicker or DST. But Jerome Ford is easily my favorite target, even though he's technically outside this round. I don't know what your thoughts on that are. I don't think Chubb can be ready at
Agree.
or full speed. And the other one, if you want to go a little further down, once we get outside the top 6 or 7 tight ends of maybe Njoku, the only other one I'm willing to take a shot on comes in the 10th/11th round, and that's Pat Freiermuth. So what are your thoughts there? I know I went a little outside the rules, but what are your thoughts on Ford or Freiermuth?
No, it's fine. I mean, Ford, I think, is good with the Deontay Foreman injury or whatever happened with him. I was higher on him just because I thought he was more reliable. This Cleveland Browns offensive line is still top 3 run blocking unit in the league, even though they're a little bit older. And I agree with you. I don't think Chubb is going to be ready. The fact that he's squatting 500 plus pounds, great. But this is a guy who regularly squats like 700 pounds, and we need to see him be cutting on the field. Which we haven't necessarily seen as well. So yeah, Ford is at the moment the best bet in that backfield, and it's a great offensive line. So why not?
But that's exactly the point of how many of these hype videos we see. Who was it? Was it Dobbins last year, the year before? Look how fast he is running in a straight line. Well, that's great.
On a treadmill.
He's never gonna run in a straight line. I want to see what he looks like when he cuts. Oh, look, he can't cut to his left at all. Well, maybe there's a problem. So I hate these videos where they're just trying to paint their own narrative, and it pisses me off.
100%. I was higher on Pat Fryermuth a few days ago. If Ayuk goes to Pittsburgh, I will not be as high. I just want a guy who's clearly going to be the number 2 or 3 option if the offense is good. This offense is not good. He will need to be the number 2 option, I think, to produce high level tight end numbers. And if you have Ayuk and you have Pickens and you have the combo of Warren, who should get most of it through the air, and some to Najee, I just think Pat Fryermuth falls to 4th in the pecking order with Russell Wilson or Justin Fields behind center. And at the moment, if Ayuk is there, I don't want anything to do with Fryermuth.
It doesn't sound like that's going to happen, though. I can't find the tweet, but yesterday there was one, and it said the 4 teams. It was basically down to 2 teams. I know the Steelers and Browns were in there, but the Steelers were the one where it seemed like they had a trade good for 2 different teams ready to go. All they had to do was make a contract deal with him, and it didn't seem like the Steelers were going to be in on it. So I was originally cooling on him a bit myself, but I don't think that's going to happen. And you add in that Roman Wilson looks like he's hurt pretty badly.
Yeah, that's true. There are a number of accounts that are, granted, second tier might be a little too nice, maybe 3rd tier, accounts that are posting that Ayuk to the Steelers is done and that it will be announced today or tomorrow. Obviously, none of the big names have said anything about that, so we don't know if it's true, but there's been a lot of groundswell this morning about that potentially happening. Will it? I don't know. But I'm just kind of assuming at this point it will. One of the accounts went so far, and again, I'm not even going to name the account because you've never heard of it and it's not worth it. But someone went as far to say it's 4 years, 115 million with 85 million guaranteed. So look, I don't know what's going to happen with Ayuk, but we know that when he gets traded, he also wants to sign to a big deal, which is the whole reason he's being traded. So who knows? Even still, Pat Fryermuth, I'm not loving him at cost. But yeah, if there's no Ayuk there, why not?
All right. I think I'm good. How about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been the middle rounds, best ADP values, rounds 6 through 10. If you liked our content here, please go on social media and like and subscribe. We are on YouTube. We are on Twitter. We are on Apple Pods, Spotify. We have our website at fantasyfootballuniverse.com. We're on Instagram for some reason, TikTok. We're all over the map. So please check us out, posting daily content to help you win your fantasy leagues. What do you got?
You should just really say, please like and subscribe. You don't have to like our content. If we say only like us, if you actually like the content, we're really going to cut a lot of our viewers out here. So just like and subscribe either way. Yeah. Even if you think we suck, just subscribe so you can tell us that we suck. Many people do that.
Sure. Mindless liking and subscribing, please, of all of our content, and let's get it going. So for myself and for Aaron, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time.